Mm-hmm.
I feel like it should be
commodity.
This is a multi-million-dollar idea we're putting out into the airwaves. You can go look through it.
Yeah. For the people that are listening right now, that long beep you just heard was because we're about to beep that out, so nobody gets that idea. That's done. That ain't going out there. But what's up, everybody? Welcome to the 7th Dropcast. It is a couple weeks after New Year's. Friday, we got the weekend ahead of us. COVID's going crazy. We all tested negative, and we're good to go, so that's why we're here. We've got our boy Andres here. He is a video content creator and a FPV drone pilot, drone extraordinaire.
Drone god, I would say.
Yeah, I mean...
In the respected area.
Yeah, you're diving into it. No pun intended. But no, I mean, like, so yeah, before we get into the FPV stuff, do you have a job right now?
No, I do not have a job. I am self-employed.
You used to have a job though, right?
That's the way to go.
Yeah, so for the last 3 years, or for the better part of 3 years, I've been working at a company called HealPay, which helped me get my start, really. But yeah, so they're a payment processing company, and I essentially created their media department, helped them with product design, ran their brand, or created their brand guidelines, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and you were mostly doing a lot of their social media stuff too, like you did all of it?
Yeah, so I was running it. When I left, I had a team we were kind of working together on it, but when I started, it was just me, and yeah, just getting all of the pieces in a place where, it's not just one person working on it, but there's multiple people.
Yeah.
So when I left, I like to always leave a place better than I found it. So leaving a footprint that's not just I spent 3 years at this company, but what impact did I leave? So I like to think that I left with a better impact than I started with.
Hell yeah.
That's valid. I know that company, and I feel like you definitely elevated their overall look and aesthetic with what you brought to the table, from graphic design to all your video and photo work that you've done for them. But
yeah,
now you're on to bigger, and I wouldn't say better, it's within retrospect, but now you're self-employed. Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah. Oh shit. But yeah, so for everybody else who might not quite understand that, Andreas, he was working a full-time job, 9 to 5, and he was creating all the content for this company. So those jobs do exist out there. I mean, you were traveling to expos and stuff with them, following around with the camera, taking pictures for their Instagram and their website, so everything could stay up to date and fresh. One man, right? Just you with a camera, all your own gear and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, that's sweet.
But on the side, also, you were trying to build your own brand, outside of that as well. For kind of what I see from an outside perspective is just preparing yourself to kind of make that leap, if you will, which is, I applaud you for that. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that ultimately became the major disconnect, which was just when I left, I had one company that was already a year. One company that was already a year into the process, and I was in the works of creating another one that I wanted to launch right at the start of 2022. So leaving was at the time, it was a very easy decision, and I still feel very confident in the decision that I did. And
well, let's not downplay it. I mean, I remember you were kind of nervous about it for a second. You were like, "Uh-oh, I think I'm gonna do it."
Yeah, I mean, I hit you up a few times, and we had those conversations, and finally just being like, "All right, it's time." And I think when I was contacting you early on, I had a lot of doubt. Can I do it? Is it
Yeah, well, so it was an easy decision once you realized you could do it, but
right.
Then at first it was kind of a abstract.
Mm-hmm.
Concept,
But always, people grow, and people grow for the better and outgrow positions or switch career paths and stuff. And not to say that anything broke off badly with HealPay and stuff with you, to my understanding, but just being able to grow outside of that and to take that leap into the freelance kind of realm full bore is
yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it without the 3 years of experience that I had already. Like, not just like with my field, but like the exposure that I had to like business development that was like how to run like all the projects and organizing customers and like all that stuff that isn't related to design at all, you know, or like my trade was design, now it's media, but like it just wasn't like how to manage all this stuff was extra. And I felt like it was like learning the sales and the biz dev and the HR.
So you did a lot of that at HealPay too?
Well, we had a CRM, you know, that managed our, you know, our projects. So the aspect of like how you manage a project or a task and like what that means to like showing your like your worth, you know, or your, you know, it was almost like everything. So when I started the self-employment, it was like that has to be part of my organization.
I mean, because so many people jump out of college or whatever, high school, wanting to be creators, whether it's graphic design, photo, video, and not really realizing that like if you're going to do it on your own, it requires a lot more than just knowing how to take a great photo or video. Like you have to wear all the
yeah, you know better than everybody, man.
Yeah, I mean, like just wearing all the pieces of the puzzle, you know. So
yeah, what you're trying to think is like you have many different hats to put on throughout the day.
Yeah, I said this the other day and I messed up the analogy once more. I can't get it.
You're not very good with analogies, but once you learn the concept, it's there. So like, it doesn't matter.
I'm a concept.
This is where Neuralink would come in handy because it's like oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Just let me unlock that extra 5% so I can get those down.
But Andres, you did go to college though, right?
Yeah, so I have a degree, a BFA in fine arts and communication design. So in the day, that was when they changed that mid like college. It was graphic design, and then right when I like the year before I graduated, they changed it to communication design.
What does that exactly entail?
So what
is the difference between graphics?
I feel like it just gives you more credibility at that point.
Yeah, it seems like it was like, I think they changed it because it was more accurately descriptive of like what we were getting hired to do. I keep doing that. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, the podcast mics make a fun noise when you hit them.
No worries. Yeah, so I just felt like, or I think they felt like the communication design was just more accurate of like what we were doing or what we were serving.
A more pinkies up approach for CCS.
Less like I think it took like graphic design, when you think about it, it's just like 2D work, and I think like communication design was like our ticket to be like, you know, the interactive students, the experience design students, and it's like the stuff that we weren't expected to work on. Like when I was at CCS, we were working a lot on like how you'd mix like code with, you know, tracking like movement or something like that, or like
that's more than graphic design.
Yeah, we're using like Xbox Connects to like, we're hacking Xbox Connects to like to track like how we would move across a room, and it would like it wasn't what we expect to work. Like our interactive classes were like our favorite classes by far.
That's dope.
Would you say CCS, like, did you get the vibe that they were kind of trying to shape you into a automotive designer?
No,
that's pure curiosity, because like I've heard that before, and like people just kind of, I think we might have even talked about it on the podcast, but just that kind of rep that they're like cranking out all the fire design students for Ford and GM. And
I mean, if you're an automotive, if that's your major, you're gonna walk out of there either like knowing that you're not meant to be an automotive student, or that
dude, I've heard that about
like,
CCS,
or that you're gonna be the best like automotive student that walk out of the doors. But for any degree that you go there for, like the first 2 years are designed to weed you out. Like if you're not serious, like, or if, I don't know, whatever your complication is, like if you're not meant to be there, you're going to know, and they're going to make you feel like, you know, you're not meant to be there.
Jeez.
So, I mean, and I remember like, you know, my first, like they have your end of year critiques, and they tell you like what you need to work on, and like, by your second year, if you're not, you know, making those strides, or if your work isn't like, if they can tell you're just not hungry enough, they're going to just, you know.
That sounds awesome from like a mentor perspective, but like from a school perspective, that sounds intimidating as fuck.
I've always kind of wanted that teaching aspect. Like, have you guys seen the movie Whiplash?
Yeah.
No.
It's a drum student film. It's amazing. It was in
like
Sundance.
Nick Cannon or something?
Just kidding. No, not Drumline. Whiplash.
The drumming movie with the
the crazy instructor, how he's just like beating him to death, basically, like trying to get him to nail this solo and like just perform. And like I feel like there's a certain level of teaching like that is obviously very unhealthy, but like, I don't know. I feel like certain people could thrive in those scenarios.
Identified
I
a
do
lot.
not thrive in those scenarios.
I identify with whiplash a lot. I mean, not in the same sense whatsoever. Like, it's not the same. But
that's pushed to an extreme, obviously.
But I mean, when you go to CCI, I mean, my experience, I can only speak from my own experience, but critiques used to be like nerve wracking. Like I think my culture, like the people I hung out with, we like to stay up all night, and like that was just people would say like, what's your time management is shit, you know, like why do you stay up all night? And I think the answer was because we like liked it, you know, like
that's where
just like that
usually
nocturnal, it had nothing to do with organization skills, but we'd be up all night working, and we'd like most of us would sleep underneath the desk that we would be like critiqued in the next morning.
Whoa.
And like you wake up with like, you go to bed thinking that your concept is like fantastic, and you wake up to like the reality of like, your teacher thinks it looks like shit, and you have to like just get around that, take notes, take really good notes, even though you're really pissed off, and just like, move on next class. And I think I was the kind of student too that like my teachers were just like thinking in their heads, like, why can't he just like get the concept? Why does he always have to do something different than what the other like students are doing? Like he just needs to
push
like
the boundary.
Just do what I'm telling him to do,
The funny thing is too, I've noticed in a lot of creatives like situations, and not even that, like even most academia, especially when you get into like master's degrees and stuff, like a lot of the teachers really want to push their own narrative and their own interests, and like that's how they get papers published and stuff like that. So it's kind of like almost this toxic thing where it's like, yo, you don't like my work, but you're a teacher. You're not freelancing. Can we look at your work?
But that's the thing, though. At CCS, you're in front of the people that like will make you shit your pants that you're in front of. So like I'm reading. I mean, I remember being in my.
And I might sound ignorant when I say that.
I mean, no, and maybe that might be true somewhere. But like to each his own too. I was reading a typography like book one day, and I was just researching for a paper. And like, sure enough, I see my professor, like Susan Laporte, is like listed there. As like one of the features, and I'm like, hold on, like this is the same person that is teaching my class. Like,
that's sick.
And it, like,
did she tell you to read that book, or did you just find it?
No, I just found it. I was like, I just bought it on Amazon, and I'm looking through, and like, this is my professor. Like, what?
That's cool.
See, that's like what WCC kind of lacked as far as like their critiques and stuff. Like, I was always wanting that like kind of shit your pants feeling, as opposed to where like, no shade on WCC, but I feel like it was definitely more so like, hold your hand throughout it if you don't really get it or grasp it,
Okay, so. For everybody listening, we have to announce that Trey is now a professor at Washtenaw Community College in the video department. So what are you going to do to are you just going to like, someone's going to do something like, this is shit.
No, I mean there's a healthy way of going about it, but I mean I think Matt Wilkin has actually done a really fantastic job at reshaping the Vid 105 class to actually, it's more so like the Vid 125 class, for those that know what we're talking about. But I think he did a lot of work last semester to really kind of correct that whole syllabus for that semester. But I think no more XFs, no more any of that. So.
I think that really has to do with the fact that like you're 26, you're 26, and the teacher teaching before that was like not. They were like 50, 60 plus.
I definitely have students that are older than me.
Oh yeah, that's community college, baby.
Yeah, I mean that's
it's never too late to go back to school. Remember that.
Yeah.
but it's like it's just a generational thing. Yeah. New tech, you're up to date. You got it. You're a little not only up to date, but like maybe above the bar. In a small.
I live in the future.
Yeah. But Andres, tell us more about yourself, man. I mean, so now, what got you into the FPV world? And for once again, the people who don't know, because we have some outside listeners sometimes, the FPV drone is.
Hang on, real quick. What does FPV even stand for?
First person view.
First person view.
It's just first person view.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew that.
It's like
I definitely knew that.
I don't know. So
the V was throwing me off.
I think the story of FPV goes back to like the world of like DJI that we used to like come from, or like the evolution of drones. Like back in the days of CCS, it's that same realm. We'd
hold on. Sorry to interrupt. Let them know what people might not know what the hell you're talking about. What's an FPV drone? Like the goggles.
Just like the whole thing. All right, so. FPV consists of like, you just watching the world through these goggles, and, you're, with a controller, you're, piloting this this drone firsthand, and you're able to do things that a normal drone wouldn't be able to do, because you're in charge of how it moves like 100%.
You can whip.
Well, like with the difference between like the DJI, like the Mavics and the Phantoms and all of that, like when you let your hands off the controller with those, they just float there and stay in the air until you're ready to pick up and go about your way. But like with what you fly with the FPV drones, if you let go of it, you're just falling straight out the sky. So like throttle control and pitch and yaw and all that is
it's
insane.
It's a very like custom, like non-automated world of drones. Yeah, like if you scratch your head, you're going into the dirt.
Keep going. Sorry, he's just trying to tell me about the time.
No worries. But yeah, so yeah, it's just all the, I think coming from a world of like Mavic drones, the way that like I think I was just like mentally taught how to fly was almost like reversed when FPV was introduced or when I was trying to learn it, because I was taught like I could just let go, or I was the Mavic atmosphere is very like prosumerist. You can just like kind of spend the money and it's like it's perfect for you.
Yeah, you can learn as you go, nice and slow.
Yeah. Would you say the DJI drones kind of messed up like if you didn't learn how to fly the DJI, I mean, I guess this is so hard to say, but like if you didn't learn the DJIs, like you think you'd have a better grasp of FPV, but it is such a whole different, like I don't know. For people that don't know too, like people that get into flying FPV, like they'll start on a simulator, like they have it on PlayStation or Xbox, and you can actually connect your actual controller. I mean, he's the one who showed me all the goodies on that, but it's the real thing, basically. I mean, it's a simulator, but I've flown that. I've never flown in real life, and it is
I can't do it.
Beyond hard. So much kudos to you for even having the balls to put it up in the real air.
Well, getting your own rig and spending the money and then doing it and crashing it and doing it and crashing it and doing it and crashing it, like, it gets expensive. Like, I was in Frog Island Park, and we were riding bikes one day. It was like a couple summers ago, and this guy was flying FPV, and I was like, yo, can I like put the goggles on? Because he was watching from his secondary monitor, and as soon as those goggles went over my eyes, I almost like fell back on my ass because it was so disorienting. Vertigo kicked in, frame rate and everything was starting to fuck with me, and like I got so dizzy, like I felt like I was gonna throw up. So I like within 3 seconds took the goggles off, and I was like, dude, I didn't know which direction was up. So like I can't do it. Like I don't think
it's still taking me so much time to get used to like just standing up like independently with nothing like a pole or something, like nothing behind me. Yeah, like I feel like there needs to be like some earth that I can like establish as like ground.
So for the viewers and listeners, you're always like either sitting down or like touching something, like leaning up against it, because otherwise you'd just get like
there's no up at that point.
When you put on the goggles and you start waving your head around, like even that like jarring, your world is the screen,
because it's tricking your brain to thinking you're going upside down and backwards. Like on a roller coaster, you can feel that you're getting pressed into the ground in your seat, but when you're FPV goggles, your brain is very confused.
And there's also this concept of latency too. So like if you were to like fly by, or hit yourself, or like the time that it takes for you to like see yourself like getting hit, and the split second messes with you. Like if it like goes by you, like there's like a split second delay of like you hearing it go like right by your face and you seeing it. Yeah, you seeing it. So like you
need the Teradek needs to step up their FPV game.
Yeah, wait.
I think they have receivers and stuff that boost signals, but I don't know what the latency translates to in the FPV world that. So.
There are different kinds of receivers that for longer range you can, get a lower latency, which, you don't need to be as reactive for, the time, just the time delay. For like a long distance. You just want the signal, versus if you're in an abandoned building and you're constantly passing columns, you want to be able to react immediately if something just jumps in front of you, or you need to make a turn really fast, or if there's
like some random cord hanging from the ceiling.
You need to be able to react like right then. There shouldn't be a time delay at all. So there's different kinds of flying and different kinds of like
I mean, I've seen too in the professional world, like when they're flying through like those huge stadiums or like those huge fly-throughs, they'll actually set receivers throughout the building
to boost your signal,
to boost the signal as you're like going further away and stuff.
Yeah, I never even thought of that.
It's crazy.
Like little baby cell phone towers all over the place.
And there's the
same
cool
concept.
Yeah, I think you've talked about it, Trey, where you've described it as like skateboarding. It's like there's totally different kinds of flying. Where like where I do a lot of like cinematic stuff. Like there's like this totally like different skilled world of like freestyle where people are doing like insane tricks and like
shooting the smallest gaps.
It's the guy that I play Call of Duty with. Back to the Call of Duty
he's
chat.
more even like in the racing realm.
Yeah,
like
he
there's
races.
a whole nother category.
He
So
was
there's
like
racing, cinematic, and the whole freestyle just craziness.
He was like top 8 in the world for like a quarter or like however that's measured.
Yeah.
I knew it was like within the top 10 for a long time, like speed or whatever division or rank he was in. But yeah, watching those races, because sometimes they do like Facebook Live and shit, it's like, and like they race in teams too. So like, say it's 4v4 and you guys are all trying to get like the best time collectively for a team or something like that. Maybe 2 of your teammates crash and 3 of their teammates crash, and there's you and one other person. Like he'll sacrifice his drone and like purposely fly it into the other guy's drone so his teammate can go and get the lap. It's like sabotage and shit. It's crazy.
It's like
it's cutthroat.
I used to play this game back in the day. I think it was on PlayStation, Ridge Racer. It was kind of like FPV drones before any of this was even imagined, but like just this racing game. It was like in the future. And
yeah,
it was like basically FPV racing.
Even like now though, like DRL is like on ESPN. It's crazy. It's
I've seen
it's a whole legit thing.
Is it ESPN now? Because I thought I saw it on X Games back in the day, or has it never been on X Games? It's just ESPN or something.
X Games is using it to like stream their motocross people.
They have live
live
stream little
FPVs
receivers. Yeah,
dude, the cable cams in the Super Bowl and shit. Those look so awesome because you're on this big cable mechanism that's strung up over the whole entire thing, and it's like everybody doing it. But then
every single time I see like the ESPN like E or like the gaming and stuff, or like even the FPV like drone racing, I can't help but go back and think about dodgeball with like ESPN, the Ocho and stuff, and
it's not the dodgeball movie.
Yeah, the dodgeball movie where they have the two announcers there, and they're like, "What's up? This is ESPN Ocho," and it's like ESPN 8.
Oh,
it's hilarious.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it in a long time.
It's kind of like an idiocracy kind of thing. It's funny.
Well, what's up, dude? Are you going to start filming motocross races or what?
It's coming. It's going to happen as soon as the weather gets.
Plug your gig. What's the deal?
Yeah, so my newest gig or venture is it's called flythrough.io. It's my website. But we collectively run a drone indoor fly-through business. The product's called the Fly-Through. So, we have like an indoor/outdoor service that like the drone will fly through your business, or, just give your viewers like a really good like
virtual tour, if you will.
Virtual tour, yeah.
And what's crazy is like we're in the filmmaking world, so like our Instagram and algorithms are tailored toward that. And I see fly-throughs maybe once a day, twice a day, if that. I was just on the phone with my sister before you came over here, and I was explaining to her what it was. And I was like, "You've never seen like an FPV drone or anything like fly through a business, like those viral, that bowling alley or like that bar or something?" And she's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And she's like hip and tech, like young, and I was tight. You're still at the very beginning of the market, right where you need to be, like take over. I
had a conversation with somebody like today that was looking for the service, and they started off like, I saw this bowling alley video.
Yeah, the Dutch drone gods, baby.
And in my head, I'm just like, I don't have to explain anything. They know what they're looking for. Just like, so I mean, it's very early in the stages, but like it's just.
But the strongest thing that you can do as a brand and what you're doing is just like finding that niche and defining your service, and like that's what you offer. It's like we offer fly through of your business, like engaging content in that matter, but like just having that like one-stop shop kind of service, I think is genius and like really just digestible for a customer, so
yeah, I mean it's really specific. I mean, you really have to like know what your need is, or you really just have to have it's just a very specific like niche, like
but I mean the expansion on that is huge. I mean, you start doing office buildings, then you start doing go-kart places,
that's what you were gonna say. It's like Like it's fucking those sick go-kart places. Like I haven't even been to one. There's a bunch in Novi and like all around the place.
We still gotta go.
We do. I was trying to plan it for Devin's birthday this weekend, but he got COVID, so we didn't do it. I was supposed to do it tomorrow. Oof. But it was like one of those things where it's like that's always been there, but it's kind of a thing that you have to be reminded of, you know, because they're not advertising.
Yeah, I found out that the laser tag escape room, this like the company Big, it's like this megaplex company. They're all owned by the same person or the same like
company,
parent company. Yeah, so like
those are the people that took over Zap Zone.
Yeah, but the Zap Zone is still the name.
Still a Zap
Dude, I'm
Zone?
still so salty that they took the original Zap Zone away out of Ann Arbor with the double decker. Oh,
yeah,
dude,
yeah.
I remember that one. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we probably versed each other back in the day,
Dude,
not even knowing.
I used to go to church at the time when I was a kid. That was Church Central.
South Industrial?
Yeah, right over there by like the 777 building. That was I had hella birthday parties there.
Dude, and then they moved it to the other one, and then the other one was literally just a one-floor thing, and I played it once. And
I think I've been there
dude,
one time.
This is nowhere near as cool as the old one.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's nostalgia. I haven't thought about that place.
Dude, it used to have a smell to it. Like all the smoke and the neon lights and paint and stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy. Rubber. All the different like characters. And you remember the arm wrestling machine they had in the Zap Zone?
I kicked that thing's ass more than a couple times.
Oh yeah. You could like choose your opponent.
It was all built out of like 2x4s and plywood too. So like imagine the insurance on that place. Like the whole thing just goes down.
Oh yeah, like the whole
it was pretty rickety, bro.
It's like plywood and just like spray paint.
I would run across and the whole thing would like shake.
But that new spot is supposed to be insane. Like they're gonna have like, you know, the traditional like arcade restaurant on the first floor and then the second floor, and then the third and fourth is gonna be like a go-kart racing.
Third and fourth floor?
Yeah.
How the hell
the go-karts are gonna be up?
Double-decker floors for go-karting.
Why wouldn't you just make life easier and do the
You're
uppers?
saying it's gonna go like this?
Yeah, I saw like a picture.
You're gonna
on,
go through like tunnels from the third and the fourth floor?
I saw like tracks above like my height, and there's like a track above.
Why? That sounds like a logistical nightmare. Like, why wouldn't you just swap the two and have the restaurant above?
Because it's badass.
Like, I feel like a go-kart track is very heavy.
Mind you, I'm looking from like an iPhone picture on a screen, so like I could have been wrong on the elevation aspect, but
I hope you're right,
dude. I passed it the other day on accident, and I just drove past it. And I caught in the corner of my eye. I was like, "Yo, what are they building over there?" And it said "Big Something Carts." I was like, "What?" And it looked like a fucking Costco. It was huge.
This is right across from Rave, right?
Yeah, right across from the old showcase. Speaking of nostalgia,
I contacted Rave and they said they didn't want anything.
Oh, so you're out there.
They're I feel like they're so like franchisee.
They just don't have any
have
fucking money anymore, dude. Movie theaters are bleeding.
That too.
Which
but
is why
I feel like it's hard to kind of dip into that like like that bigger corporate realm where it's like Rave has like that location, but it's also owned like with 10 whatever. You have to talk to the right people if you're gonna. And not to mention that they're just bleeding money right now.
I've learned too, like just in the last few weeks of like I'm joined a referral group, and I've learned like in a very short amount of time that like just expanding my network and talking to everybody like is one of the just initial parts of like starting a business. Like just network, talk to people, because I feel like just the first few contacts I've gotten have been like really cool and like
it's all about who you know.
Yeah, like I just cannot be grateful enough for the people I've met already, and just, you know, really really thankful for how this process has gone so far. I have a lot of people to thank.
One of the cool things that I thought about was like work from home is the new thing. Companies are dying to get people to come back, you know, and they're looking for every single excuse to make the company or the employee feel comfortable coming back. Like tech companies, big, huge places where it's like all these Ann Arbor tech companies and stuff like that, like Google, like I've seen it online, like on an Indeed thing where it's like, yo, this is our office space. And it was an FPV video. And it's like, this is where you would be working. You know what I mean? So like just the ability to even see first person, literally those spaces is like great for event spaces, fucking, you know, employees, employers, all that stuff.
Internal and external applications.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just the idea of like touring something has never been so like immersive to me.
Mm-hmm.
And with COVID, I mean, people want to tour it without actually touring a place.
Yeah.
It's like this club we've been talking about doing Twitch streams. so you can like log in and look at the Twitch and see if the club's popping off at the time. Because it's like you need that little extra oomph to get you out of the house.
So if you're like at the house with all the friends, you're like, oh, look at this bar, this is popping, but here, switch over, like this one's dead. Like,
exactly. We're going to this one. It's like a whole new fucking world.
Whoever's on the network is gonna be like noticed too, and it's gonna be like
I feel like it should be
commodity.
I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar idea we're putting out into the airwaves. You can go look through it.
Yeah. For the people that are listening right now, that long beep you just heard was because we're about to beep that out, so nobody gets that idea. That's done. That ain't going out there. But tell us more about the whole process, Andres, because I know me and you have talked about it when you asked me for some like production style stuff. So like, there's a whole process of like day before, day of, all that shit.
So a typical fly through consists, most importantly, of like a walkthrough. Like me being able to just like walk into a space and visualize like what it could look like and put myself in the position of the drone and like just like walk into like every room.
Yeah.
Like totally. Literally keep all the doors open. Like I'll sometimes like open the doors like and just feel what it would be like to like, just open every door and see what's inside everything, like what door leads where. Sometimes it consists of flying and getting a sense of like how it is. Sometimes it doesn't, depending on the space. And I can usually diagnose that pretty quickly. But some spaces, the ones that have like high elevations or, really intricate, like we're talking about like laser tag or, those I'll definitely need like lights on. I want to just like get a sense of where the corners are and like.
You get like a whole floor plan, like a video game, basically, right?
And that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, the simulator, I have a lot of respect for the simulator because, even like before, when we were doing that car ad, I was in the simulator like a lot. And I was putting like, I'd put a car going like 80 miles an hour, really fast. And I would
do all that.
Yeah, in a different one. It was called Uncrashed on Steam. But you can customize like how fast cars are going and, just full throttle how it would be to like chase a car, rotate around as it's going full speed, how much you have to throttle to be able to rotate, it's just a matter of like being able to do it. So I was chasing like an RC plane when I was first starting.
And you've done that in real life.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and I was like in the simulator, I'm chasing like this helicopter that's going super slow and I'm just rotating around this moving object in the sky. And it helped me being like, just get that like muscle memory for my fingers to just know like, all right, when I'm up there, I got to start rotating and go this fast. And my camera tilt has to be, this,
My brain's starting to pop. I get it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going that fast, like those curves on the parabola, they're a little heady on it. Those things, or your matrices, I failed math. Those things like they extend and get more intense, like as your speed and stuff like that. So
yeah, so like when you fly, I think when you fly, you have your drone, which your drone carries two cameras. It has the good camera, which is usually like a GoPro, or in some cases like a fancier camera than that. And then below it you have your FPV camera, the one that you're seeing and the one that you're piloting from. And that one is going to be your gospel, really. Like your GoPro should be like the same camera tilt that your camera is. So your camera tilt is going to decide how fast you're going to go. So if your camera if you're looking at it from an angle, and your camera tilt is like, let's say like 20 degrees or 35 degrees, right? When you're finally going straight, that needs to be like straight on, right?
But your speed depends on how fast or far forward your drone's dipping.
And exactly. So the angle of your drone is going to be like that, but your camera is going to be straight on. So you're trying to like match, like when we were like the the ice boats the other day, I was constantly adjusting my camera tilt because it was, they were varying speed, I couldn't really diagnose if they were going, 30 miles an hour or like 50 miles an hour. I just had to constantly like increase. And then
do you know that by like, you got a little notches on
no, I can't really tell, but like generally, like, I mean, I know that I'm not going like 80 because that's insane, but generally speaking, like 40. I don't know. Trey, when you're watching it, like how fast does it feel like it's going? Am I over exaggerating it?
I don't know. It's hard to say because it's just such a little blur
in the goggles. I feel like I'm going like 1,000 miles an hour.
Do you have those? Do you have that data?
You're probably flying, I would say, 30 to anywhere of like upwards to like 60, I would say, like on the dives and stuff. Yeah. And like the crazy thing too, I wanted to add about like just like when you're diving and stuff too, like everything is dependent like with your weight and stuff too. Like depending on the camera, like if you have a super tiny little like one of the Insta 360s that weigh like half a gram, you're going to dive way slower than opposed to if you had on like a GoPro 10 or even like a Komodo or something like that on a bigger copter. Like you'll just fall out of the sky that much harder. And like the throttle, like you have to use so much more juice, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm talking all on like
that recovery. Yeah. Like, I mean, you were talking about like a parabola curve, and that was pretty accurate. Like if you're thinking about like, you know, if the juice it takes you to imagine a Komodo, which is like a brick, right?
Yeah.
If the juice it takes you to lift that brick up to a point, you know, and then then you free fall, right? And then when you're free falling, your props are still spinning. You're just not giving it any throttle, but they're spinning to a point where it could be like controlled with pitch and
that's okay.
That was a G. No, but so your props are spinning in a rate that like they can still be controlled, but they're not like disarmed. You're not going to just like deadband, right?
Yeah. Or get blown over or anything like that.
So you're falling, right? You have your giant brick, and now you're gonna need to like reverse that curve and like just send it, right?
Like that stereotypical movie plane pulling back and the plane going back up.
So you need to have enough juice to make sure you don't just fall out of the sky and just like whoop and smash into the ground or something like that.
Can you see all that data, or are you just like hoping?
You can track it. I mean, but for me, it's just seeing it. You know,
the scary part too, like when you really like gun it, like let's say you're doing a dive like that and you gun it, like you can see your battery like suck down.
So yeah, you could be at 30%.
The voltages get low, like when you're like on it, like, and if you have low battery and you try and like do a really heavy dive,
shit's
like,
just gonna cut out.
You can cut out for sure.
Fuck that.
Yeah, you just spin props and hit the ground.
I mean, like I would get so nervous and shaky, like flying the DJI drones, like all the time and stuff. Do. But like, I mean, on the Porsche shoot, you damn near killed like 4 Osmos and a GoPro, like just obliterating, kamikazing them into the ground.
We
like,
talked about that on the last podcast.
I would just be shaking in my boots every single time I put that thing in the air. So
Trey was rubbernecking the whole entire time because we were in the car ahead. Every second, Trey was like looking back, like, "Holy shit, you guys see this? Oh my god!" He's like trying to peek through the rear view windshield, like looking up at the sky, sticking his head out the window, like, "Where is it? Oh shit!" It's crazy.
It must be crazy to watch. I've never been able to like see it. You know, it's just
it's terrifying to watch, especially when we're dealing with a old classic car. Like it looks like. I mean, I know you know what you're doing, but like it just looks so on the line.
It looks like a little spaghetti monster.
Just
like
well, on the like thinnest line of like losing it.
You touched the ground at one point.
Yeah,
the car was driving at 40 miles an hour. You were coming across the side. You got so low that the drone scraped against the ground, and I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, my receiver, it was just like all like road rashed.
Oh shit.
But that's another thing. So you build you don't go. Okay, so with DJI drones and all these other drones, you buy them outright, but you're building your copters.
Yeah, so you do build them. I've bought like mine pre-assembled. So they've been like, they're called BNF bind and flies. So you buy like, you know, with the receiver installed and like the everything configured to, you know, your remote and your goggles, you know, your DJI. I have HD now, so
doesn't matter. If you keep hitting it, just keep talking.
So like I have HD, so I always have to buy like a version with like the Cadix Vista now. That's what they use for the HD version. Mm-hmm. But before I used analog, which was a really crappy, like staticky VHS version of the picture.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you used on the Porsche shoot?
I used analog on the Porsche shoot.
That was looking sketchy.
Yeah. And the range is a lot worse on analog.
So like you upgraded your goggles then, and in result, your goggles gave you better transmission, like the better feed quality as well as a better range.
Yeah, picture and reception. Yeah. Were both improved. But I have to give credit too, because like with FPV, like, and I'm sure you've seen like crash especially when you're learning, when you're trying to figure something out, or beginning of a shoot where things don't quite make sense, like you do crash. Like I mean, the more risk you just have to assume that you're gonna crash and make a mess of things. And
that's also the benefit of FPV being so modular, in the sense that, like, if you break off an arm on, like, let's say your FPV drone, like, you can actually, like, unscrew that little broken piece and replace just that arm, as opposed to DJI. And even on DJI's FPV's drones, if you break, like, the tiniest little bit on it, you got to send the whole drone.
It has to be serviced.
2 weeks, so 5 weeks later,
even with the FPV drones in their field, it's a headache.
I would say that learning how to fly was really hard, but learning how these things work technically is still an ongoing challenge. Like, I'm still learning how to diagnose my own issues and fix my problems.
Because you gotta work on, like, circuit boards and stuff. Too.
Soldering iron and frequencies and shit.
I've learned how to solder. I didn't know how to solder when I first started, so I had to, like, I remember when I was first getting my first drone, my first like FPV drone, and my buddy Scotty Rodis, who's still my, like, go-to, like, if I need to help with something, or, like, if I have something I just can't fix, or literally, like, a diagnosis that just doesn't make sense, like, it's always my go-to. And such a helpful resource, and I literally can't thank him enough for just, like, getting me on the boat, on the floor with, you know, figuring out, like, basic shit, and like not only just, like, how to, you know, fix stuff, but, like, just really good best practices for, like, not messing up in the future, or, like, having, like, a good a good routine for flying, or best practices for just, like, not
your workflow.
Yeah, just to, like, I approached him when I first met him, and I was like, what drone should I get? You know, imagine getting that question. You're like, should I help this person?
Yeah. If people ask us, what camera should I buy?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah. And is, like, you know, imagine trying to, like, walk someone like that through the very beginning processes of, like, you know, FPV, as specific as it is. Mm-hmm. Little did I know, I'm, like, the only person that, you know, one of the only people he knows who's also into FPV. So it's, like, it's a very small community. So, like, any question I throw at him, it's like I'm the only person asking him questions about FPV. Mm-hmm. So, you know, here I am, though, like, Scotty, I need to fix this thing. Like, I crashed. I can't, I have a shoot tomorrow or something, and my receiver has to work. You know, like, what should I do? So, you know, having people like that, you know, I've been able to count on, and, like, I have such respect for, you know, his willingness to, like, help a total noob. Into, like, you know,
you just put the blue wire over the red wire and
that was
clip
the
green
question.
Yeah.
Are you, like, running your own wires and all that stuff? Like, you buy your own little, like, motherboards and size and weight, because everything's down to the fucking kilogram, right?
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, yeah, it may look like it's a big, like, you know, jig full of a bunch of crap on it, but it's really just a stack, which consists of, like, a ESC and a flight controller. And ESC powers your props, and your flight controller just is, like, the computer.
What's an ESC?
It's like it basically is what talks to your controller and your propeller. Like, it's so your controller works with it. Yeah, basically.
It's like the power that your props get from it just connects all the motors to, like, your computer.
Oh yeah, it's like a transmission for all your motor.
Yeah.
Motors.
And your flight controller is, like, the computer that's saying, all right, well, you're getting all this power. This much power should go to this prop. This much power should go to that prop. You know, if you have your tuning, you know, we should adjust your tuning for this and that. And
I didn't even know they individually spoke to each other.
It's the computer, right? And then so you have aside from that, that's connected to your VTX, which is your video feed. And that's the one that's live. And then usually above your VTX, you have your receiver, and that connects to your controller, your controls, you know, and it's just a lot of components that, like, would be inside of your DJI drone. They're just a big shell around it, you know?
Yeah.
I was going to say, this is getting pretty thick.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know that they talk to each other individually. Now that makes a lot of sense, because you got to stay stable, but then also, like, when you're pushing forward or going backwards, like, there's more or less power coming from each individual rotor and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, like, he's plugging it into a computer and, like, fine tuning all that.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying. That's crazy.
That, like,
yeah,
I
so,
did
like,
not know that.
There's, like, software you can use to, like, you know, you plug it on a table flat and it'll calibrate, like, your gyro, and yeah.
That's thick. It sounds like
it's just like
a car.
Just throwing DJI in manual mode, except for flying.
The aspect of DJI FPV where like you're flying like sticks and then you freak out, you could press the pause button, just blows my mind. Like I need that.
I remember when I first, like when that first came out, I immediately sent it to you and I was like, bro, this is so sick. And you were just like, that's bullshit. Everybody who buys that, if they don't know what they're doing, they're gonna crash it and you're just gonna be out of a bunch of money.
I want the wand where you can like go.
Oh yeah, that was a fail. I feel like I've never seen. I mean, I don't really see very many.
As bad of a fail as the GoPro Karma drone. Let's face it.
Oh, the Karma.
That was my first real drone was the GoPro Karma because they were like literally
you had one.
They were in a lawsuit.
It was like a beetle, dude.
They had a lawsuit.
They just fucking sucked
because the battery would dislodge during the flight, and that thing was
fall.
The thing was like 20 pounds, and like it would just like fall out of the sky.
Really?
So like all these like Best Buys were liquidating their GoPro Karma drones and all the batteries and all the accessories, so you could buy like a $900 drone for like $300.
Yeah,
so
and
like,
it basically was just a
beetle.
huge public safety hazard because people are just flying drones and they just come down and crash into your house or like you're on the soccer field.
So I bought like a bunch of batteries. I bought the drone. I bought like the kit, and then I just bought some gaff tape, make sure like the battery would never come out.
And did you fly it and it was fine?
I was my drone for a while. Like I loved it. It was like super easy. You could just like a 6-year-old could like auto take off and auto land. It was awesome.
Yeah, he should not be.
He
who shall not be named had a Karma, right?
Yeah.
And wasn't the footage pretty whack? Or because it was just basically a GoPro, right?
It was on a GoPro 5 probably.
Yeah, you put the GoPro in it. Like it was kind of modular in that sense. So that was the one cool part about it. But it was
you could do long exposures with it in the sky because the GoPro does like 30-second long exposures.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a wonky looking picture always.
It's just sounds like a letter from the FAA just waiting to happen. But yeah, that thing was so loud, like taking off. The thing's like.
Yeah, I set it up wrong the first time I ever took off, and like the props just like I remember like all 4 of them just like shot up into the sky, except for one, and it made it do like a backflip. Yeah.
Man, yeah, I started on the Mavic 1, and that's still the only drone that I bought.
You still rock that?
I mean, I still have it. I don't really use it for video much, but you can still get good photos out of it. But that's the photos, like I said, that's the bread and butter these days, just because the video doesn't really hold up worth a shit. So, but yeah, I still got it around. I mean, there's no really sense in. I'd rather just like do some crazy. I would really like to just use it for. I've really been wanting to get one of those NAN lights and just attach a light to it and just be able to mess around with that and maybe do like some light painting at night and stuff.
The Lume Cube is the way
that's
to go.
what it is. Yeah,
because the Bluetooth, you can like turn it on from your phone.
Oh,
everybody's telling me like, hey, can you get a key light on your FPV drone? Like, can you do that? I'm just like, yeah, but it's like, is this a horror movie?
Oh, are they saying like for the fly-throughs?
Yeah,
and stuff?
it's like, can you put a light on it? And I'm like, I want that too, but it's like,
that would give like a weird like Project X kind of look to it. But I was gonna ask like if you've given any thought or like what you do in those scenarios where it's like, I mean, for the movie theaters and stuff, obviously those are kind of like meant to be dark, but like, have you thought about kind of lighting your environments with your fly-throughs? I mean, it's so hard because you gotta hide all that stuff. And
I keep thinking that the camera has to get better. Like, if I could find a rig that has like a APS-C sensor that can handle some of the, like just a little bit better the blacks. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's really nitty-gritty kind of things. But
what are the pros using other than just like a full octa?
Yeah, so the pros use like there's like a stripped down Blackmagic right now that's like it's really hard to describe, but
it's like just the motherboard, like in the sensor.
Yeah, the sensor is independent of the motherboard, and the motherboard is part of the frame. So like you attach the motherboard to your
your
drone frame with screws, and that's part of the frame. Like
it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's insane. And so usually they can, and this is a modular system where you can either put it on like an outdoor 5-inch, or in some cases like a 7-inch, some cases like a 9-inch.
And he's saying like that in the sense of
so 5 inches
propeller size.
5 inches is the diameter of the the propellers.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were talking about there.
So the bigger the inches, the bigger the drone, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to interrupt because I feel like I'm doing it a lot. Like, what is that? What?
Yeah. So there's another company that I use a lot. I buy a lot of their drones, which is iFlight, and they're coming up with a lot of like a really like kind of like the prosumer way to like get into this too, almost.
That's cool.
Yeah. So like they have a lot of good BNF bind and fly drones that you can get without the headache of like buying it. But I mean, you always have to like buying a BNF, like you're gonna inevitably have to fix it. Like if you're not, like you're gonna have to send it in just like you would with DJI. Like it's just part of it.
So what's your biggest tip to everyone wanting to get into FPV? Don't. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean my biggest it would be like just be prepared to spend more money than you think.
And more time.
Oh yeah, that's just film and camera in general.
Yeah, I mean
and the amount of time that you've dedicated, like not to just like perfecting your flying, but like you said, like just troubleshooting and working on all that stuff is like,
yeah, I mean
to get it where it needs to be. I mean, it's definitely worth it in the end result of like the just what you're able to get, but like there's a true appreciation that goes into what that is. And like even before like I knew or have ever like tried the simulator or anything, like watching those people on Instagram where they're flying in like the Netherlands and like diving in caves and stuff.
That's that real shit.
But like I remember watching those and just being like having a basic understanding of like DJI drones and stuff, and like not knowing how complicated FPV was and like how talented or how much talent that actually takes, and just like understanding how hard it is really is like just gives me boatloads of appreciation for what you guys are doing. Like it's insanely hard. Like no joke at all. You're gonna crash time and time again.
Oh yeah. Not only are you gonna crash, you might cause bodily harm to yourself. On the Porsche shoot, you sliced open your hand. Like holy smokes, that was scary.
Yeah, I mean, I think like
took a chunk.
The way I sometimes talk about FPV maybe like sometimes misconstrued as like, oh, it's like, you know, it's dope and whatever. But it's like it's really all about safety and like having good protocols about like how you do things. And I think like what Trey was alluding to a second ago is like, you know, I'll do this, I'll be flying, but I'm still kind of learning the ropes of like good protocols, getting good, like, you know, when I set up, when I tear down, like how I approach just like getting in the air. And like when we were flying around those boats, like there was just like almost like this new protocol. Like when you fly in new places and new things and you do like things you're not used to, like there's just almost like this new protocol you have to, you know, kind of lay down. And then I feel like with FPV you can only get that by just doing a lot of it, you know, just like putting yourself in like every shitty situation that you can, or like,
because you learn as you go.
Yeah, like I've never ever flown with my hands that cold, and, you know, except for like, you know, yesterday. And I was like hesitant that I was even going to be able to get back to myself because like my fingers were so cold. I was like, I can't tell if I'm like accelerating or not, like
because you lost all feeling in your fingers.
Yeah,
like
and
Andy
you
would try and like put gloves on, and like I mean you've tried to do like stuff with gloves.
I couldn't use gloves because I couldn't feel the extremities of like where my fingers were. So it's like
you gotta get those fingerless gloves.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, really?
Or I think they make gloves too that like you can peel back the little tips.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You see them all the time in movies with bums. They wear
like
the gloves.
I need like an ice hut where it's just like just me, and it's like me and my little triangular prism. You know,
with just a little Teradek receiver. I was about to say,
get yourself a little cardboard box. It looks like you're setting up some sort of shelter with like an antenna coming out the top.
Just be me breathing on my hand, like we got this. Like,
So Black Sheep, if you're listening, heated controllers might be a play.
Yeah.
Heated sticks, at least.
There was something else I was going to ask. I'm back. I haven't done this since the last podcast. There was something else. Don't pay attention to me.
I was going to say, when you were just speaking about all that stuff, I could hear the 107 pilot license.
That's what I was. That's literally what I was going to say. You haven't. That's so funny. You just pulled it out of my mouth. Everybody, Andres is a certified 107 pilot. That's literally what I was going to say. I was like, let's talk about that. You got your drone pilot license and everything, which is
it's the drop connection, you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, going from like protocols and safety, I feel like that was like right on the tip of my tongue too. But yeah, so like too often, I mean, I was not a 107 pilot as early as I should have been, I think, in my opinion. And I was like doing a lot of things with like a piggyback 107 from like people I knew or was affiliated with. So I was able to fly under their 107s like with a DJI drone. But I think like when I got into FPV, the message to me that like what I was doing was not like, or what I was going to be doing or wanted to do was different than like a DJI drone, like
just like playing around in your backyard with a drone kind of deal.
Yeah, like the second I started realizing like, all right, I want to fly around people, I want to fly like through people, I want to do like things that are like, you know, you don't see a lot. But I think that kind of came with this like double-edged sword of like, all right, but to do that you need specific waivers, you need like the right certificate.
I mean, and yeah, for people that don't know, a 107's pilot license, that is basically a certificate or a license to be able to fly for profit. So if you're going to fly a drone or any type of drone for a client in video, you have to be certified as a 107 pilot.
And let's say we got to specify drone pilot. It's
drone pilot, yeah. But the test, I've actually done a little bit of studying for it. I never ended up taking it just because it's a thick thing. It's through the FAA, which the FAA also manages. It's like the whole airspace of like
it's
with
the same
airplanes
shit.
And all of that. So and what they do within this test is like really want you to just gain appreciation for the FAA and like airspace. So you're learning about weather patterns and like what to do in a Boeing 97 if it freaking nosedives. Like there's a lot of weird stuff that I was learning that I'm like, man, this is like, I mean, you have to learn how to talk on the radio, like when you're like coming in for a landing on a landing strip and stuff. And how to and which landing strip.
You can't be on our turf unless you know the history and the appreciation.
Well, I mean, what's that language called? Where it's literally like F494.
Oh, the METAR reports.
Yes, that was where I threw in the towel. That was just
Trey's like, all right, this sucks.
Yeah, I was nerding out about
what is it called?
Report. METAR.
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 And that's just like weather reports and like how like weather patterns and stuff. So like, what's an example of one?
I would always nerd out and be like, I'll tell Michelle when she was sitting next to me and I was studying for this. I'd be like, Michelle, so right now at Ann Arbor Metro Airport, there are gusts of winds at 40 knots pointing east, and on runway 26. You can just like, you just get lost in like, and you're saying this, but you're just reading like 4290008 KT.
That's what.
Whoa, yes. So like binary shit.
And you're able, you can just like see like a METAR report.
Language.
Yeah, and you can just know, all right, that part is wind, this part is wind direction, this part is runway.
It's
Trey
horrible.
said, I'm so over this.
It's horrible.
But I mean, and I can't like, I knew a lot of people like that. Just I think they might have been just good at studying when they were in high school and just could see like a book and like be like, I got it. And for me, I think that's what discouraged me is like I would be such a passionate pilot and I love doing it like in real life, and I would go to study and I'd suck at the practice tests and I would just bomb. And I had to like just get over it and just realize like, all right, this is what I love to do though. So I got to pass this fucking test.
Yeah.
No matter what. Yeah.
And you did.
And I think, a year and a half too late, I passed the test and here I am.
What
but
do you mean too late?
I should have done it like right when I started flying. Cause I mean, the knowledge was, I don't know.
Did you ever withhold yourself from a situation because you didn't have that knowledge?
No, I mean, it wasn't.
It was not too late.
Does that license ever expire, by the way?
Every 2 years you have to renew, but it's not renewing with a test. You have to take like an online, like 20 question test.
That's good. That's good.
You don't have to go in. The test was actually really cool. Like I knew I was ready, so I wasn't nervous about the test at all. But being there, like I was like, can I go to the bathroom? He's like, yeah, just around the corner. And I like open the door and I'm in a hangar with like 20 planes. And I'm like, this is sweet. Like,
yeah, that's dope.
And I don't know. It was just a really like cool experience, just hanging out at the airport. And I think you say, you have like a different appreciation for like aviation. And you're just like, it's just,
Yeah, you're in a totally different space. Like we drive cars. To drive a car, you got to go to driving school. If you're fucking flying a plane, you got to go to flight school. So,
yeah.
I have a friend who lives in North Carolina, is actually my sister and my brother-in-law, her husband. It's their friend, but he's really cool. He's a pilot, and he when we were in Costa Rica, I was flying my drone all over the place, and just for everybody, it's not FPV, it's just a DJI, but they don't have the FAA down there, so I was taking it up into like 2,500 fucking feet, and it got sucked up into a cloud, and I lost my signal, and I just nosedived, and I tried to get out of there as fast as I could, and like I was going the opposite direction, but my drone was going upward, and then it started to get dark below me, and I was like, oh, I'm in a cloud, dude, like I'm losing signal, this is really scary, and like I'm sweating, and everybody's looking on the screen like, where'd it go? And I'm just like, oh no, it's coming back, I think, but it comes down, but it was just like really scary situation. So that's just me with a DJI, like with an FPV. Very scary. But long story short, his wife asked me what kind of drone he should get because she wanted to buy him a drone for Christmas. And he's a pilot and, obviously has his pilot license and everything. And he got the Mini 2. That's like a step down from the Air is the Minis. Right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, and he fucking loves it. So it's like... It's just crazy too because as a pilot for him, like it was a whole new appreciation for everything as well. He was like, "Wow, like a drone!" Like because he flies giant planes, so the fact that he can fly a drone in his backyard was mind blowing to him.
Michelle got me the best Christmas present I could ever ask for. She got me a flight lesson to fly like a real plane.
No way!
What?
Yeah.
Are you gonna do it? You didn't do it?
It's in February, and they said she could co-pilot and just like watch me do it.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, where? Ann Arbor Airport?
Waterford.
How much does that shit cost?
I think it was like, I don't even know, honestly.
Do you have to have a pilot license?
No.
Wait, so you have like obviously an instructor
Yeah,
right there
you
that's
have,
like
like,
flying
someone-
and he's
you-
like take the wheel.
You have
kind
a
of thing?
co-pilot, and he'll just let you take the reins for a while and like kind of
What
correct
kind
if
of
you go.
certification do you have to like?
Doesn't sound like any. Trey, we
Dude.
gotta go fly some fucking planes.
Yeah, you just do a class for like an hour before, and they kind of give you like an instruction on like what you do and don't do and all that. And then
Okay.
you go in the air.
That just seems risky. Like someone up there is like,
Like,
yeah, like let's
Yeah,
go.
it sounds like 9/11 all over again.
Yeah, there's some FAA rules.
I mean, the FAA, like in the Part 107, there is like a buddy box system. So like if you're flying like an RC plane, you can have like somebody else literally doing that with like a separate controller. And if like,
What do you mean? I'm lost. Buddy box? You saying like somebody can take over controls?
yeah, so like this is more common in like RC planes, but they do it with drones too. Not necessarily FPV, but like some of like the DJI probably
Military
has
drones.
it. Yeah. Yeah, but it was in the FAA like study book where like, yeah, like if you're piloting and you don't have a commercial license, like you can have somebody else that has the same controller that can take over, that has a 107 that can
Interesting. That sounds like a huge liability for the other person, though.
I was talking to somebody yesterday that was like, yeah, I was just flying my DJI drone, and then a kid walked up to me and just like my controls and smacked me into a building, and I was like, dude, that sounds like a nightmare.
It's like when you
my
just, like,
God.
punch the kid in the face. And I'm just kidding.
Like the kid's like, yeah, like, I thought the kid was gonna like touch my screen and like mess with my settings, but he just grabbed my knobs and like yawed me into a building.
Oh my god. I would be
Ouch.
like, let me see your parents right now.
He said the dad was just like slinking into the crowd, like nope.
Oh, this is
Dude.
gonna be expensive.
Yeah, holy smokes.
Jeez.
I
Have you
laughed.
guys ever seen, by the way, this just reminded me, I think my dad showed me this video actually, but it's like these people out in like Sweden or something
Chainsaw
with
drone?
these, it's these these mini jets, but they have actual like mini jet engines on them, and they're like putting gas in them and everything. But like they lay down this little mini like landing strip for it and everything. But I'll have to show you guys the video after this. Like I think they break the sound barrier with these little like
No
model.
shit.
Dude, they're going like 500, 600 miles an hour on these little
Dude,
drones, like
what?
in this huge open field. And like he's just like, I'll have to.
There's
it's
no way you
insane.
can control
He's like,
anything with 600 miles an hour with a controller.
That's what I said.
Well,
you'll
think
have
about-
to see it. It's
think
insane.
about like government drones, like you're just piloting. Think
Government drones are as big as this room.
Think about 600 miles an hour from like, more than like, 45,000 feet
yeah.
up. It's like not that fast. It doesn't feel that fast. But like,
I mean, that's still
I mean,
600 miles
this
in
video,
an hour, guys.
this video though, dude, this dude is like making these dives that are like.
How do you even see where
insane.
you're looking? There's no FPV on that.
I don't get that either. He was literally just watching it, like doing it like
see,
this.
that should
yeah, that's
be
how they
illegal.
fly. When I was flying with the RC guys, they're just like watching it. And like, I have so much respect for those people because like when you like
Turn around. Yeah.
all your controls are flipped. You just have to like almost like face the other way and like not
flip
look
your
at
controller too.
Oh yeah, jeez.
I mean, you run into that with the DJI.
I run into that in video games. I'll be playing Far Cry and I'll be going the opposite direction and I'll fucking crash into a mountain because I'm like, oh, I was supposed to pull up.
The GTA mode.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have so much fun with that game. I do FPV with the Millard plane.
Far Cry?
No, GTA 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you go to the plane and then you just stall and then you go.
Oh,
yeah.
fall back.
Oh my god, it's my game.
There's a bunch of new updates and stuff too with those games.
I play the story mode all the time.
Yeah, I
Dude,
haven't
Forza
played it
5, I
forever.
think I've done every single race.
I think I have you on Road Discovery though.
Xbox
Do you?
boys.
Ooh, I don't know. I'm 300 something.
Dude, I'm like 5 like
You're almost all of them?
I'm like 540.
Oh my god, that's
The person I'm competing with is like 570. They're done.
Damn. Yeah, no, I'm not that far, but
All right, I'm gonna reel it back in off the video
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
That's
sorry.
okay.
dude,
That's
Forza's freaking awesome
Yeah,
though.
yeah, I don't have it.
Yeah, PlayStation, Gran Turismo.
And everybody who's listening with PCs are like, fucking nerds.
They're playing them all.
Yeah. There was a couple more things that I wanted to talk about. Was that the ice boats? So I didn't see it. What are we at?
An hour.
Just 1 hour.
Hour 5.
Hour 5. Okay, perfect. The ice boat thing. So I posted it on my story. I watched it. I haven't had time to watch it until today. When I was at the gym, I watched it when I was sitting in the sauna. And I love what you did with like the whole entire dude talking. Like I didn't know it was kind of like a whole piece. I thought it was just going to be like a little reel. But the yellow text at the bottom of the screen, everything, all that's primo. It was dope.
The audio for that was horrible. I listened to it and it was just like wind. It was just like
You edited a bunch of wind out of that?
No,
Yeah,
I could tell. I mean, not that it
couldn't
was
tell.
bad. I could tell that. And I was there, and I knew that it was going to be windy as hell, like sounding, and what you came up with, and like what you did to that audio.
He
it
was
sounds really
holding
good.
a shotgun like Ryan Seacrest and it was just talking. And
Yeah.
it was like I was just hoping it was going to come out right. But I didn't even feel like the questions were that good. But he just had very good answers and just kind of. I asked him to talk about ice boating in a very poetic, creative way, and he was like,
He seemed like an old fart too. Not an old fart, but
It
like
was-
an old head.
it was really funny because like
a
he
Walled
was
Lake
like
man.
I approached him because he was the fastest one. He was by far like I would see. I was like Trey. I was like, look at that guy in the red boat. He was like killing
zooming.
it. Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
everybody what the ice boats are.
Yeah, so I mean, I learned what ice boats are yesterday, but it's apparently like sailing and which is ice. And so like the way he describes it is like you're sailing, but you're just kind of like fighting the wind with, you're laying down like you would on like a
So they're laying
It's
down. I
a
didn't see that.
sailboat with ice skates on it.
Yeah.
Like a
essentially.
kayak,
essentially.
or are they big as a sailboat?
they're as big as a sailboat. I mean,
No, I would say it's like where they're
Canoe?
laying, like what they're laying in, it's like a small little, like, it's kayak sized, but it looks more so like a canoe or like a regular sailboat.
I mean,
you know?
I saw it from the sky and I just immediately thought of like Star Wars like fighter jets.
The
like,
X-wings.
Yeah. It was like they look so cool.
They do.
Yeah, the
I
way
mean, and they're reaching speeds of like 90 miles an hour on a good day.
yeah, like I think 60 to 90, but they're just really just flying.
Dude, those shots that you got when you were way up there, coming down, like those dives, and you could see under the lake.
Yeah,
like,
that
was
was
so
nutty.
cool.
It was crazy. Like just when you were standing, like especially on like the shallower parts, like you could just see straight through. And like my buddy was just like, "Don't look down, like don't look down."
Side note: my mom, he grew up in Ann Arbor and all this stuff. They used to drive cars on Walled Lake. Like, yeah. So when they were teenagers, like sometimes they just drive out to Walled Lake, very undeveloped at the time, and you could just drive your car. She remembers driving a minivan across Walled Lake.
People do that on Whitmore Lake if it gets cold enough.
Oh, I'm sorry.
too.
That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Whitmore Lake, not Walled Lake.
Oh yeah.
Walled Lake is up by, there's like a bunch of big houses up there, like Rochester Hills area, kind of, I think.
How
right?
far out were you guys? It was like 40 minutes an hour?
was
Yeah,
like
like
30
35,
30
like
minutes,
up
yeah.
275, that whole shit
Okay.
show.
We were talking about high school a second ago, and made me realize that we went to high school together, but we didn't know each other.
Yeah, Huron, baby.
Yeah.
Riverettes.
Trey was a rainbow zebra. That's
I was a
pretty
rainbow
tight.
zebra
Pretty tight.
represent. Hey, I played lacrosse for the Riverettes. I was like,
You did.
I did. I was like half Riverette. No, it's like a eighth maybe.
I
I
was
only
just
played
a-
2 semesters.
I didn't mean to go back to high school because I hated high school too, but
Whatever.
we went to high school together. We didn't know each other, but now we know each other.
Well, I don't want to say I hated high school, but I also don't want to say I loved high school, because when you say you love high school, it makes you sound like a huge loser.
I peaked. That was the best time of my life.
It was fun. I mean, you grew up in Ann Arbor, dude. She was fun.
Yeah, it was a good town.
Peaked in hood rat shit, that's for sure.
Yeah. I was the president of the art club for like a year, but I'm pretty sure I like started it, went to a couple meetings afterwards, and then I just stopped going. Yeah. And then somebody reminded me that I was the president because I had to take a yearbook photo. And I was like, oh yeah, I did do that.
And Andreas, I think I met you, my mom introduced us, right? Or like our parents.
Oh yeah, that did happen.
Because my mom knows your dad, and she was probably just talking to him like, hey, my son does video, whatever. Yeah. And I think we might have met at like Unity Vibrations or something the first time. I think that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. My dad was hitting me up and saying like, yeah, like you need to meet Trey. He does like high productions, and like I know his mom, and like it's funny too at the time, like I didn't know you at all, and I was like, I saw your picture with like I think it was that camera right there, and like
yep. One of those,
the Hasselblad picture. Yeah, but I didn't know you at all, and I met you that night. And
then that like your art show?
Yeah, it was like your exhibition. You were like
that's the first time you guys met?
Selling prints, yeah. Mm-hmm. I met you at that too, but I didn't like talk to you, but I was just like you were there too.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And it's crazy too to even think about back then when you guys were doing stuff, you were even doing stuff like flying through abandoned houses. Like that was your jam. Like even before FPV, you were taking your DJI through like open windows and abandoned houses and doing
that's what led to FPV. I was like, that's what led to the name Fly Through. Actually, was like I'd be like driving with Michelle and I'd be like, I bet I could fly through that. Like there's like this junkyard.
That one house that we went to.
That's what I'm saying. I was so jealous. I was so jealous I didn't get to go that day. I was doing something and I was like,
I mean, we for sure got some sort of asbestos poisoning, but
whatever.
We're still here. That house that could have been a cool hangout spot if it was just like a little bit nicer.
And we were not over the age of 18 and degenerates.
I'm thinking back in high school, man.
Cool hangout spot.
Not our apartments. We just go to this abandoned house and hang out.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, the fly-through shit, I think you're kind of at a cusp of pioneering, and that's like one of the conversations that we talked about on the phone too when we were talking about rates and this and that, and it was like, what if somebody says no to the price? And it's like, okay,
find someone else.
I guess you don't get a fly-through video then, like who you gonna call? Where is it?
It's identifying a niche in the market and filling that niche, and I think that's like one of the most powerful things that you can do, or smartest things you can do, in this field.
It's just, I think like all new things, it just doesn't feel. Sorry, like all new things, it just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel right because you're like kind of like.
Well, it's imposter syndrome.
I hate to say that I'm leading the way in that, but it's like I don't know anybody else that's doing it in like Ann Arbor, Detroit, like. So it's hard to even like say like, well, yeah, if you're not going to go with me, like this other person, but
I mean, what are you going to do? Fly out the Dutch drone gods? Like that's going to be an expensive rate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even going off that, like learning from people like them, like I'm really appreciative of like when I've sent the Dutch drone god messages about like, what would you do in this scenario? Like, they're nice enough to like reply and like, give advice. So like when we've mentioned them a few times as like the pioneers of this and like other side of the world, but like here they are giving me answers that I wouldn't otherwise get. So I really do have like an appreciation for the FPV community.
Dude, there's that one clip that was going viral for a long time, and I guarantee you it's still bouncing around the internet here or there. It's the hot air balloon with the Red Bull jet that's going down.
So Johnny FPV.
Yeah, Johnny FPV, and then there's the guy in the wing suit or the jet suit. Is that the same video?
I think so.
Yeah, they're like all flying together, and then the FPV drone is just going crazy and diving with him with the red smoke and stuff, and it's just nuts because like the first time I ever thought about that, like usually I might have saw it as a viewer and just been like, that's so cool. But then after talking to you a little bit when you were getting into it, I was like, wait, so there's a dude in the hot air balloon and they're all talking on comms, and they're like, okay, we're coming up, launch the drone, and then you're launching a drone from a hot air balloon, and then they're flying by, and then you're now chasing this thing that's flying at a high speed. So it's kind of like rocket science almost, with like getting perfect orbit or something, like you got to hit everything at the perfect speed, perfect time. It just sounds super heady and complicated.
And think about the logistics of getting your drone back after that.
No, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Because you go down and then you like, what is your range? What's going on? Like now
you're
fly
just
it back.
in the sky hoping you have enough battery to get all the way back up to your hot air balloon and land precisely back in your little like pouch you got there. Like,
and your battery life is how long?
It's 4 minutes on a 4S. All right, so all right.
So you're working your ass off for these 10-second, 30-second clips.
LiPo batteries are finicky as shit. You know, you really have to charge them correctly, and you have to like keep proper care of them and recycle them properly if you don't use them. Mm-hmm. There are different kinds of LiPos. Like you'll see drones that are going for like, you know, the 6S, which is the fatter, more like lengthier kind of battery. There's you know, fatter batteries now, but you know, there's 6S, 4S, and like, you know, the smaller like RC batteries like 3S, 2S, 1S. Okay. I typically use 4S and 6S, and the difference between 4S with weight is like 4 minutes as opposed to like 8 minutes maybe.
Okay. But the more you're
juicing it,
it really depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a cinematic, if you're doing cinematic and you're not a lot of throttle, you're just kind of keeping it steady the whole time, you can get maybe 10 minutes out of something. But if you're just like sending, you know, hot air balloons, you know, you're going up and down, it's a different story entirely.
Like a gust of wind could come through, and that gust of wind could drain your battery because your drone's fighting against it more than you even anticipated at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example. Mm-hmm. But like also the kind of drone that you use has a big impact on like, you know, like I have when I had my DJI drone, I had one drone and it was like my drone. Now that I have FPV, I have 6 drones. Like I have my micro, which is like smaller than my hand. It's for people. My cinematic micro, just a little bit bigger, but it can carry a GoPro. My fat micro, which is a little bit bigger than my hand and carry a GoPro with a lot of weight. And then my outdoor, which is like my 5-inch, and it's like, you know, props unprotected. And
you got a kitchen scale for all that, so you can weigh on your kilograms and
shit?
shit?
Exactly.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm. I have a kitchen scale on my desk so I can measure like, you know, my camera weight. I have all like the GoPros and Instas like weighed out to know like, you know, how they'll affect the total build.
It's crazy.
I'm trying to manage right now. I'm trying to get on like that fatter camera, you know, which like the APS-C, which is, you know, just better, but it requires a more powerful system. So inevitably by the end of the winter, I'm going to be on a Cinelifter, hopefully.
If anybody can hear, I can. I don't know if anybody else can, but the train's passing by.
It's very. I was going to say, I thought your laundry machine was on.
No. When are you going to chase a train, bro? A little steam engine.
Fun fact, the train system is actually like it's a federal crime to like be on the train tracks. And
tell me about it, bro.
Even like just flying over
train tracks is you really have to do that by the book. So a lot of people don't. So
I used to paint graffiti. I know all about the train tracks.
I think like there's something to be said too about this world of like social media and like what you see online, and like, 'cause I see a lot of stuff, and I think like there isn't enough about like the pilot and where the content's coming from. And I think like a lot of people will see that and be like, all right, when I get my FPV drone, I'm about to be diving some like 4G towers and like, you know, just all the things that you shouldn't do. And like, there's just a lot of things, like more preparation than I think a lot of future pilots like should take before like seeing something online and like just doing it in real life.
And what you're saying too is like a lot of the stuff that you see online is like class book, like illegal in the sense of like
there's a story there's a story you're not getting when you see like that like really tall cell tower being dived in like Slovenia, and it's, you know, there's like a fee you don't
see the video of the mail carrier dropping off a letter from the FAA where it's like thousands of dollar fines.
So okay, just take it. Okay, so the way that this is working right now is like FPV is not necessarily consumer, and it's like still breaching prosumer. Like you're prosumer. I don't know what that word is, but you know, like
you can buy it. It's like, but the availability for you to be able to understand what you're doing and get into like just get in the air is a lot harder than you would assume.
The learning curve, yes, but the legality of it is what I'm talking about. So for example, this pilot, that my friend from North Carolina, that you know, so he got this drone, and like that's a perfect example of like, so I saw somebody with a drone, I want to do it. And like, because he's a pilot, he's smart. But there's a lot of other people that like buy these drones and don't necessarily do the safest things with them, and that's kind of why DJI even now partnered with the FAA and did that thing. What is it called? The
remote ID.
Yeah, the remote ID. So then now basically all your drones have a license plate and everything like that, your radio frequencies and everything. With the FPV world, do you see like a lot of conflicting shit? Like, do you see, like, are they tracing your radio frequencies?
With,
like, what work?
I'm not sure. With my DJI goggles, there could be something like that, but I don't know if I haven't heard of anything in the past.
I mean, that's like to bring up just like the uneducated pilots and stuff again. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen pilots have some pretty close calls, like at music festivals and stuff like that, where they're like flying over people, and I'm just like watching
and
it, like
that alone,
that is
flying
scary.
over people needs that goes into like there's a section 107 called category 1 through 4 waiver, which is about like if you're operating over in like an open body, like
like a music festival or a concert.
Exactly. Yeah, like your drone is classified by weight in that scenario, and the drone that you're using needs to be like approved and like by the FAA to say like, all right, this drone is going to be flying over people.
Because you submit a flight plan and everything, right?
Yeah, at this music festival, like this drone needs to be approved. So like if we're flying over people, we need to be using like, guarded props and all that stuff, and like.
Which
there's a lot
happens.
that goes into it. Yeah, and I would say probably the majority of the stuff that you see online of like event coverage with drones is probably illegal.
Well, so, dude, yeah, I mean, I was driving. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, and there's exceptions too. Like if there are drones that can be approved without prop guards and all that stuff, but like they're just higher up on the categories. So like they're probably level 2 to 3 or 4, and probably not 4. I'd say 4 is like a heavy Cinewoop with a brick on top and like a bunch of exposed props, and it's like
that's all like you have to probably get a bunch of insurance and waivers for that.
Yeah,
correct?
Yeah, it's like just too heavy of a thing to fall from the sky and not be like, all right, what is this
damaging? Well, lethal. Dude, so me and Trey were very careful how I word this. Me and Trey were on a gig where there was a drone being flown by an affiliate of Drop Creative who was a licensed 107 pilot, and that was being used for commercial use for something in Detroit, downtown. The drone it took off during a normal time, and everything was approved, but for some reason, during the flight, a Comerica game started. So imagine from 6:50 to 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock is when the geofences in Detroit went up. So the geofence being the barrier that tells where your drone can and can't go.
Inside of it.
What?
Were you inside of it?
Inside of the geofence? No. Okay, so this is where it gets weird. The pilot was flying around a building, and to get back to where the pilot had to be, because they were flying out of a parking structure, it had to leave the parking structure, loop around the parking structure, fly, then come back through the parking structure, which is a window. And then when it came back around at 7 o'clock, that geofence was up, so it stopped. And it was right there, and you couldn't get it because it had to pass through the geofence for maybe 10 feet and then loop back into the parking garage. And it was basically fucking stuck. So what had to happen is that it had to be flown all the way up. We
did it on the roof, right? We landed on the roof.
We and the drone pilot had to go up to the roof and get it back and retrieve it from the other side of the parking structure. But like at the time, like the drone pilot was extremely frustrated because they were like, why can I not get my drone back? And I was like, oh my God, like I can't imagine this happening in a scenario where my drone's fucking trapped. Like what's happening? Or the drone pilot's drone's trapped. Like what's happening?
It's just geofences are weird. So like my drone, I have a Mavic 1, like the oldest drone that DJI has made, basically in the Mavic series, and I haven't upgraded the firmware on that thing for years.
And it's not your fault.
I just don't use it that much, but it's lacking a couple of the new features that some of the new ones have. So I don't even think that mine would necessarily be.
You mean like a license plate?
Yeah, something of that nature. But like, I don't think it would even like happen, but the geofences that's just such a weird thing to wrap your mind around, that they're like able to set up these like
virtual straight cooperation from DJI to the FAA.
Yeah.
And they set up a fence from time to time because...
But like to have that all over the world, you know, like to have like all these schedules of like a Tigers game, you know, like it goes up at this time to this time.
Might be important to loop back here. So like we just talked about like how important it is to understand like how airspace works and how like TFRs work, which are temporary flight restrictions when like a baseball game is happening.
Yep.
We just talked about all that, and like having like a really good understanding of that is a really important like for just like spatial awareness. And like when we're talking about FPV, like you don't need to have authorization to put your drone in the sky, meaning that you need to have like the understanding of like, all right, there's a baseball game, I need to have my app open right now to check before you fly, to have like my authorization open, have like your app aloft, that's what it's called, have that open to check my airspace. And like the due diligence of like, I think DJI does a really good thing of like telling you not to take off. Like they won't let you. Yeah, the controls of geofencing are very informative, and I use DJI when I'm flying FPV to know like if there's like a landing strip, you know, because they don't have those in
you can zoom out and see everything.
Yeah, I use it for just spatial awareness, but it's not like, you know, having that app is so useful. But what I was trying to say before is that FPV, like they don't have like that seatbelt to tell you like, hey, you probably shouldn't take off right now. Like you need to like know that, or just have like the preparation already there so that you're not caught with your, you know, your tail between your legs. Like, shit, I probably shouldn't have taken off and flown here. I didn't expect there to be a helicopter like 20 feet above my head just now. That was scary. Like, yeah. So like, yeah, you really shouldn't like.
Well, other pilots don't a lot of pilots don't even respect that either. Like in Detroit, they have those like
helicopter tours.
Those helicopter tours and a lot of helicopter shit. And when I was with my buddy Greg, the pilot from North Carolina in Costa Rica, he was telling me, you know, like it makes sense that DJI says that you can only fly up to 400 feet because 500 feet is the lowest legal feet that you can fly for a commercial airspace, and that's literally only in the case of like an emergency. So you have to be above that. But I mean, there was an instance in Detroit where I was with another pilot who was flying, and he was flying at under 400 feet, and the DJI kept saying and yelling, "There's a helicopter in your area," and I could fucking look up and see it, and I was just like, "All right, well that person is under 500 feet. Like that is illegal. Like you're in a helicopter." This drone pilot sketched out because there's a beeping going on, like, "Oh, you might crash into this helicopter." It's like, dude, that helicopter should not be here right now. So it's just interesting to me because it's like the drone pilots are getting sketched out, but yet sometimes some other people are fooling.
Yeah. I mean, we talked like, I think when we were learning about drones, Trey, we like would always go to like the top of parking structures to take off. And it's because like, I think we thought like, or the reception was obviously better. But I think like by like starting off higher, it was like just...
You can also get higher if you start off higher. Though,
yeah,
too.
So that's the difference between AGL and... oh, shit, what's the other one? AGL... I'm bad. I should be forgetting this right now.
It's okay.
107 revoked.
Average above ground level and means... Oh, yeah, MSL. That's what it is. Mean sea level. So like the difference between like what we think is like the ground versus like what is like
controller
the top of the top of a parking structure, for example, could also be like the ground when you take off.
Like an extra 100 feet.
Yeah, so like you're talking about like a space there where like the helicopter should actually be flying 100 feet higher than 500.
Yeah. That's where it can get a little.
So when you're talking about cities, it's like a whole bunch of like, you know, Tetris shaped like invisible like lines that we should also be visualizing when we look at a building versus like, and the same thing goes to like a plane or a helicopter when they're flying. They shouldn't be like, unless they're landing on a building, shouldn't be.
So
like,
they actually like from a pilot's standpoint, like when you're flying over New York, there's higher flight restrictions, obviously because of the taller buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, makes sense, but yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Before I went to Costa Rica, I was looking up so much info, like on not only their website, but like everywhere else, and like DJI forums and this and that, and even travel blogs where it was like, hey, I'm a drone pilot, I'm going to this country. what's going on. You guys fly there. What happened? Who's going to send me a letter if I do this or that? And like, it's just in other countries, man, that stuff doesn't even exist sometimes. So it's kind of sketchy, but
I've heard so many stories about, like, I took a trip to Panama, I took a trip to this and that. And like, the craziest stuff always happens, or like,
you get a contact like from international incident,
but like you just do things because like the FAA doesn't exist, so it's like whatever, let's do it.
Free
Like,
reign, yeah,
yeah,
dive whatever building you want in Dubai. Let's go.
Dubai, probably nah.
I mean,
those
guys, there are crazy.
Those dives that you see are actually part of a skydiving advertise campaign.
I was about to say,
really?
You ever try to get into track? Because like, dude,
well, that's huge out there, like the base jumping off of the top of those huge buildings. So that makes sense.
You can fly a jetpack, bro. Go to Dubai and jetpack.
You can do a lot of things in Dubai.
Yeah. But yeah, like travel industry. Like, you ever thought about going into, being a traveling?
I would love to. I mean, I'm eager to see where this goes, and I'm looking to see like some incremental growth. But eventually, yeah, the sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
There we go, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
TM. That needs to be on your website. Right?
He said TM. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of close.
Yeah, if we want to call this, I mean, this was. Thanks for sitting down and taking the time with us and talking some drone shit.
That's crazy. I'm glad. It's been a long time running. I've been a big fan of the format since you guys started, and seeing the guests you brought on, and the way that the conversations aren't so just so like expected of like, industry, just talking about like where we've kind of come from, and the origin stories I think have been very powerful. And I
think our main thing, or one of our main things when we were thinking about starting this, is kind of we always see everyone like on set, and it's always like kind of hustle and bustle, go, and like you have some sort of conversations here and there, but like we never get to like sit down and just kind of like talk, So that was kind of one of our main ideas, and just getting to hang
together.
out, So
I also think it's important to let everybody know that all the guests that we have on here are like local and in our area. So for you to know that there are a lot of people out here that are doing the same thing. So if you want to try and do it, go for it. There's an accepting community out there from here to Detroit and beyond. So
right on, guys. Well, that concludes episode 7. Andreas, thank you so much for joining us. And
thanks, Andreas.
We'll see you guys one more time here. Let's get this for one more. We out.
What's yours like, Trey?
And nothing else matters. Oh, that was good.